David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at the Saturday race of the day. It is race 10 at Gulfstream Park, the Mucho Macho Man. Before we get into the handicapping, though, let's be reminded that with the year ending, we've got a promotion at the Racing Form, the New Year's sale, 15% off all of our handicapping products. Just go to shop.drf.com and use that coupon code NY2025 to get your handicapping started into the new year. Well, Mike, for this Mucho Macho Man, it's the first Kentucky Derby qualifying prep race of the season at Gulfstream. There'll be several of them leading into the Florida Derby, that final Kentucky Derby prep. And often I go into the Mucho Macho Man or just generally these Derby prep races the first weekend in January, not expecting to see a ton of quality or expecting these horses to have a major impact later on the Derby trail. But I'm not going to be surprised when a few of the horses lining up in this field actually turn out to be okay in the future.
Yeah, this is a pretty good field here. We got three different tracks sort of running similar races here for the really early 3-year-olds, David. And this one, to me, has the strongest field by far.
Yeah, and I think the field is led by the horse down towards the inside, the number 1, Guns Loaded, who is coming off a fast and impressive maiden victory at Churchill Downs, and he'll be stretching out to the mile for the first time, but a horse that I think people are intrigued to see what he can do with some added distance because he has shown talent thus far. But there are a few others in this race coming off maiden victories, some horses stepping up out of Allowance Company that all have shown potential and look like the kinds of horses that might really appreciate and improve with some added distance. So I'll be interested to see how this field plays out on the racetrack on Saturday to get a sense of how they could sort themselves out in the early stages of this race. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector, and that horse that I was mentioning, the number 1, Guns Loaded, does possess a lot of early speed, so won't be surprised when he's mixing it up towards the front end, but not sure that he's got the quickness to outrun the number 2, Macho Music, if they are really intent on getting that horse to the lead, because he has shown sprint speed that might make him a little faster than anybody else in this race.
Yeah, even with blinkers coming off the 2 here, they might not be able to go with this horse if they're intended to lead. I mean, he's been really fast sprinting. The distance is obviously a big question for him. But that's not to say that Guns Loaded isn't a fast horse in his own right, David. I mean, especially when you go back and watch that maiden win last time. I mean, they wanted to lead with him from the outside. They had to use him a little bit to get there, but he was fast, and it's not like that was a slow pace.
Yeah, and even other horses in this field, like the number 7, Rolando, has shown plenty of early speed early, so won't be surprised when they're moving up front. Timeform US obviously has captured that, indicating this race could feature a fast pace, and maybe that'll help a horse like the number 9, Sonic Scadaddle. He's got the highest Timeform US late pace rating in the race, but he is one that would probably need things to come apart at the end. Let's go through this field in post-position order, beginning with that number 1, Guns Loaded, and as I mentioned, this being the Saturday race of the day, you can handicap along with us using the free PPs that are available on the race of the day page on DRF.com. Mike, you mentioned Guns Loaded showing like a ton of early speed in that maiden victory from his outside post. He was able to secure a clear lead into the far turn and just never really gave anybody a chance that day as he maintained those big strides all the way to the wire, going the 6 furlong distance. He had also shown talent in his debut race at Saratoga. It's a lot to ask of a horse to break from the inside and show speed going that 7 furlong distance. And yeah, he lost to a horse with a little more experience, but he never quit that day and ran another strong speed figure. And you look at that most recent race at Churchill, it got a fast number, and horses have come back out of that race to validate it. The 3rd place finisher came back to improve 6 points. The 6th place finisher improved 24 points on the Beyer scale in his next race. So just feels like it's pretty hard to knock this runner, Guns Loaded, just a matter of whether or not he can get the added distance.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. And when you start going through his pedigree too, I mean, I don't really worry too much about this horse at least getting a mile. We'll see how it all plays out. Again, the speed to his outside, maybe it's a little bit of a stumbling block for him, but just from watching his 2 races, I don't really feel like it's going to be. And that, just to add into all the stuff that you've already laid out, and I agree with every word of it, David, this horse has just been training so strongly since the maiden went up to this. I mean, he looks like a real player in this division, at least in the first part of the year, to see what happens.
The number 2 is Macho Music, who could be the biggest thorn in the side of that favorite. As you were mentioning, he's a horse who does have a lot of early speed, and he's one who does have some significant distance questions to answer because he's never gone farther than 6 furlongs, and he's kind of been shortening stride at the end of those races, although he's also been showing off some antics where he's pulling a de jour at the end of his last couple of races, jumping shadows on the racetrack. Did it twice at Keeneland, noticeably so last time, but also when you watch the race 2 back, when he was winning that optional final claiming race, he jumped a shadow and was just, so far clear of the field, it didn't really matter. So this horse obviously not having a whole lot of focus, even with the blinkers. Now they're taking the blinkers off. So we'll see what that does to his finishing ability. I'm just a little skeptical of this guy getting the mile.
Yeah, me too. Especially when you're talking about him trying a mile against a field like this one for the first time. I just don't really see him, even if he blasts off to the front here. And I won't be surprised if he makes lead because he is wicked fast early. Even if he blasts off to the front here, David, I'll be pretty surprised if he could wire a field as good as this one.
The number 3, McKellen, is the uncoupled stablemate of the rail horse Guns Loaded, also going out for the Jose D'Angelo barn. And this horse tried a demanding distance on debut, going the mile, and ran pretty well to get the job done that day by half a length. And I thought took a substantial step forward in his second start, beaten by a pretty promising Brad Cox runner in disco time at Churchill, and was a little bit green through the stretch, lugging in the late stages, but still showed improvement on the debut race. He would obviously need another step forward to contend with this field, but it's not like he's totally overmatched. And interesting that Irad Ortiz takes the mount on this one.
Yeah, I saw that too. It'll be interesting to see if he can move forward one more time. So I agree with you. I think he's going to have to do that. His debut, I thought it was fine, maybe a little bit more workmanlike than anything else, but he got the job done there at the end of the day. That runner-up that was on the lead most of the way really made this horse work to get by him, but he did outfinish that horse at the end, and I do think he improved last time. He couldn't get the job done there. He was just no match for that winner, but that winner seems like that he could be pretty good for Brad Cox.
Number 4 is one of 2 Chad Brown runners in this race, Treaty of Rome, coming off a maiden victory, going this 1 mile distance at Aqueduct in early December. We'll take a look at the replay of that race. And Mike, watching this, he got a very good trip. He was up on top of a moderate pace and is able to just hold on by half a length. And that might not sound that impressive when you just look at it on paper, but watching this horse run, you could just see, he really picks up his legs. He's got some nice extension to his stride and kind of gives me the vibe of a horse that just is getting started going the 1-turn mile distance and is probably going to want a lot farther than this down the line. I think this horse has some talent. He's just going to have to get a little faster. And I also wonder what kind of trip he's going to pull in this race, because I don't think he's got so much early speed where he can be up close to the pace if they're really moving up front.
Yeah, it feels like it almost feels like his pace has to be fast. I wonder how much it works against this horse, but we'll see, because I do think he's talented, David. You could see it in his debut. He's not a sprinter. He wanted no part of 6 furlongs, this horse, but you could tell that he could run a little bit. He did get a good trip last time, but man, I know that horse was running at him late. To me, that horse was never getting by Treaty of Rome. He was always finding plenty to see that horse off. I think this horse has a chance to be pretty good, but he is going to have to move forward against this field.
Number 5 is Cool Intentions, who is a 2-time winner coming into this race, winning his last couple of starts. Another one who just looked like he was a little bit outrun on the debut, going 6 furlongs, but took a big step forward, going a mile in his second start. And then last time stepped up against winners, not facing the toughest allowance field in the world, but I liked the way he swooped from off the pace and ran by that field. We'll take a look at that replay as Cool Intentions, coming off the far turn, ranges up 4 wide and just really lengthens his stride to run past another rival that will be meeting here, Rolando, who has to settle for second, as you could see Cool Intentions just mowing him down the center of the racetrack. This horse is going to get a pretty big class test here, but if they are going quickly up front, at least this guy has finishing ability.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like he's one of the horses who could just get the right trip in here. I do think that race that we just watched there is by far the best race he's ever run. His debut was fine. He did not run as well as Rolando that day, but that was going shorter. He's gotten better going longer, and Rolando has not. I know it was a little bit of a cutback last time, David, but I don't really care about that. This horse, I think he really moved forward in that most recent win. I think he can move forward again.
The number 6 is Septarian, who is 2 for 2 in his career, having made starts at Charlestown and Laurel, and a private purchase since that last race, now moving over to Resolute Racing and switched into the Chad Brown barn. We'll take a look at his most recent start at Laurel that I guess gave some confidence for them to pay whatever they did for this horse to now wind up in the Chad Brown stable. He'll be stretching out from the 6 furlongs all the way out to the mile here, and kind of an interesting pedigree on this guy, Mike. By little-known sire Protonico, who only has notoriety for siring that Kentucky Derby winner who was disqualified, and that storm of controversy, Medina Spirit. But on the dam side, it's a lot of European pedigree. The dam is actually a half sister to a horse that won the Prix du Cadran in France, going 2.5 miles, that being a Group 1 affair. The dam sire, though, more of a sprint influence. So a lot of interesting things going on with this horse. I find him a difficult one to assess in this race.
Me too. I'm most interested though to see how he runs of anybody in here, if only because David, when you watch his first two starts, and you can obviously elaborate on this with your own thoughts there, but both times he got the same trip, just sort of chasing from the inside. And once he was clear in the stretch in both of those races, this horse really ran. I mean, he finished up really, really strongly in both of those races, and it makes me feel like he is going to stretch out here. This is a significant class test for him. I don't think he beat a good field at all on debut, obviously, and I'm not sure how good that field was last time either. But I do like the visuals on this horse. He really runs late in his races.
Yeah, my one concern with him is that in both starts, he's broken slowly. So he's got to get out of the gate a little better, especially stepping up against a field of this quality. But I agree, he's an intriguing horse in this race. The number 7 is Rolando, and you just have to question the mile a little bit with this horse after he ran so well on debut going the 6 furlongs, then got a little tired at 7 second time out, didn't show much better finishing ability last time when he was ran over by Cool Intentions in the final 8th of a mile that day, and just feels like, especially with the expected pace scenario of this race, he could have a tough time getting this distance.
Yeah, not sure that this horse's future is going to lie in longer races. I mean, his debut I thought was a pretty serious performance. I mean, he showed good speed in that race. Aside from trying to jump the rail in mid stretch there, he did everything right in there. He was really impressive, but he just hasn't gotten better with more distance. And we just saw the replay a few minutes ago there, that most recent start, David. I mean, this horse was loose on the lead. He had a clear advantage on that field into the upper stretch. He put up basically no fight at all for Cool Intentions.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, he's a horse that has been pretty unprofessional with his lead changes, so he's got to get over that at this level. The number 8 is Naughty Rascal, a horse that's won 3 of his 5 starts and has really never put in a bad effort. I mean, he's tried a variety of distances from 5 furlongs all the way out to a mile, ran on dirt and turf seemingly equally well. So I respect his versatility. I just question some of the fields that he's coming out of. And while his speed figures have been trending in the right direction and are okay, it does feel like this is still a step up in class for him.
Yeah, I looked at him the same way. I don't really want to knock him because I do think he's actually run well in every one of his starts. And he did prove, I know it was a different surface, but he proved back that he can get the mile. So, we'll see. I thought his most recent start, I don't know how good that horse that won the race is, but he was heavily favored. And I thought this horse ran fine in there. Tried really, really hard to run that horse down and just came up short. I think this horse is actually okay. I just don't know if I like him in this spot.
And then closing out the field is the number 9, Sonic Scadaddle, who's going to benefit from any pace that develops in this race because he does not possess much early speed. And if you were just looking at his maiden win 2 back, where he made this big run from way off the pace, I mean, it's fair to be impressed by it because he really was just running away from that field at the end in terrific fashion. And he's bred to get some added distance. He's a half brother to Quality Chic, who was I think a winner going as far as 9.5 furlongs on the dirt. He didn't handle the 2 turns last time in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but got sort of a weird trip that day where they weren't going quickly up front. It was a slow pace that they backed down on the backstretch, and he just got really rank running up on heels as they moved onto the backstretch, and his race was kind of over from there. I don't love that the pace completely fell apart in the one race that he did win, Mike, but I suppose there still is some upside with this guy.
Yeah, I thought he ran okay when he broke his maiden 2 back as well. I mean, typically, I'm not looking to take horses like him, David, especially at Gulfstream Park, who just have zero speed. He's going to be so far outrun by these horses early. I think it's going to be hard for him to win. But, if you liked him off the maiden win, I did think there were things to like off the maiden win, I wouldn't be too hard on him for his most recent start.
Well, let's throw up our picks for this Mucho Macho Man and Mike. I think we saw this pretty similarly. We both put the number 1 Guns Loaded on top. Not expecting this horse to be much of a price, but I just can't get past the visual impression this horse left in that maiden victory last time. Get the sense there's real talent here. And like you, I'm not that concerned about this horse getting the mile distance.
Yeah, I'm not either. I think he's going to be really, really tough in here. Both of his races are good. He was supremely impressive breaking his maiden last time. I thought we'll see if the pace affects him, David. It does feel like they're going to go fast in here. So he's going to have to deal with that pace and either show that he can sit a little bit or just outrun these horses to the lead. I don't know how Saez is going to elect to play it, but either way, this horse is going to be, I think he's going to be pretty hard to beat in here. I put the 2 Chad Brown horses 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, I had a little bit of interest in the number 5, Cool Intentions, toyed around with putting him on top, but just feel like he hasn't quite shown the talent yet that Guns Loaded has. So I think that rail horse could be tough to beat in the Saturday race of the day, race 10 at Gulfstream. It is the Mucho Macho Man. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.